Hi everyone, welcome to UTV Gooner and our show, The Shooting Lone Star with Ram from the Austin Gooners. Hey bro, how are you?
What's up, bro? Just another day in paradise. It's Friday that we're recording this, so weekend is coming up. A bit disappointed in the cancel or the postponement of all the games because of the Queen. I mean, well, because the Queen passed away, but yeah, it is what it is, right? You can't complain too much. First world problems, I like to say. Um, but yeah, man. I mean, that'll give us some time, I guess. At least the team a little bit of a break, I guess. And yeah, we'll see what happens, right? With the next week.
Yeah, unfortunately, yesterday the news came out that the Queen passed away. Rest in peace to her. They've decided to postpone this weekend's games. So we haven't got Everton on Sunday. So we won't be doing the preview for that, but there's still a lot to talk about. As much as I don't
Hmm.
want to talk about that Man United game, trying to get over that one and move on from it. Really proud of the boys though. Was speaking to you on WhatsApp. We played so well. It's just unfortunate. We made some mistakes, lack of experience, you could say. We got caught on the break, but it was
Hmm.
so dominant in that game. We had them pushed right back. They'll just seem scared of us and trying to hit us on the break. At the end of the day, fair play to them. It worked out well for them. They got the win, which is what it's all about. But it was a lot of encouraging signs for us in that game. And as Arteta was saying after the game, a lot for us to learn from that experience. We know it's a very young team.
Yeah,
Two,
man. Yeah, football's a funny sport, right? Like this is one of the few games where like sometimes the result doesn't necessarily give you the full story of what exactly happened. And I mean, yeah, they, 3-1, fair play to them. They end up with the 3 points. They scored 3 goals. We only scored one. But in talking with a couple of folks, Man United fans, um, almost, they were kind of like in the middle of the road saying like, "Hey, yeah, we won, but you guys were like almost battering us a little bit." And I mean, and that's what it felt like. You're watching this game, and I thought that we were dominant in possession. Um, it's just I think it's one of the problems that is emerging early in the season is that we're just not nearly as clinical enough as we should be. Like we're getting more chances, we're getting more, times in the box or whatever. We're just not putting it away. I don't know if it's a lack of confidence. I don't think it definitely is. I don't really think it is that, but we are having a little bit of a problem in the past couple of games, really putting it away. Um, Probably has a lot to do with again the inexperience. We still do have a very young team. Um, and it's just yeah, as Arteta said, like it's one of those growing pains that you're gonna have to go through with a young team. Because again, we had chances to pull ahead and even win or at the very least draw, and we just didn't make it happen. But on the on the same token, like I didn't expect us to go undefeated. And I knew a loss was eventually going to come. I just hate that it had to come against Manchester United, right? Like that's grown to become one of those hated rivalries, at least in my eyes. So yeah, I didn't want to lose against them, but the cool thing about it, and we'll go on to this, right? But like a lot of these games are coming back to back, 3 or 4 days. And what I like about it as sort of like a just a fan is it gives you an opportunity to kind of get over it, regardless if it was a win or loss. You have to get over it and get your mind on the next game because it's happening in 3 or 4 days, So you have to, whether it's a win or a loss, you can't get too high, you can't get too low because you got to be ready to go again. So um, I think it was good in that sense that we played on Sunday and we had to be ready to go on Thursday and yeah, looked we finished we did the job. So um yeah, Manchester United. I'm looking forward to playing them in the reverse fixture.
yeah, looking forward to getting revenge on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, also, I was speaking to you about this before as well about the situation at right back. We know Ben White's done well there, but it's not his natural position. We have Tommy Yasu, who is a right back, our first choice all last season. He's had this injury, so we've been easing him back in. But for me, feel now is the time that he should be starting, as well as Ben White's done. So, what do you feel about that now? Do you think we should be bringing Tomiyasu back in as right back, or should we stick with Ben White?
I think, yeah, I mean, he played a full 90 yesterday, um, and he looked good. It was, again, he's one of those players where, you don't really ever worry about him. Um, and I just recall yesterday watching the match and worrying about our attack and Fabio Vieira and all these other guys that were, debuting. And a couple of times I had to be reminded, like, oh yeah, like Tomiyasu's in there. He's just a solid player, right? He locks down his position, and he's very sure of himself. He's composed and all that good stuff. I think we should start considering, putting him in as the starting right back and let Ben White rotate somewhere else, whether it's center back, or maybe still letting Tomiyasu start and then bringing in Ben White off the bench to kind of clean things up and finish the game off or whatever. Um, but yeah, I'm a big Tomiyasu fan, so I've been looking forward to seeing him come in a little bit more. I still feel like he's still in his preseason just because he was injured the whole time. He's starting to come back. I'm thinking within the next couple weeks, whenever we have our next game, uh, I would like to see Tomiyasu go again and see how he fares. And I'm sure he was very excited to get back into the mix because I mean he was everywhere. He was he was definitely an influential player yesterday.
Yeah, so yeah, let's talk about yesterday then. So had to bounce back. We got the win there. It was a different team. We know Arteta rotated, and with the Europa League, we know that's going to be the way in the early stages. It's a chance for us to give some of our squad players and younger players a chance in the team. But like some Marquinhos, who took his chance really well, got that first goal. It's so great to see the emotion on him
Yeah.
after he scored. So it was a good performance. I'd say it's closer than it should have been. We were dominant, but then
Hmm.
gave away that penalty. Unfortunately, got them back into the game. But then again, second half were really dominant, and it could have been a lot more than 2-1. But we got the win, and that's the main thing. What was your thoughts on that game?
Yeah. This kind of reminded me a little bit of the preseason match we had against Orlando City, where we started basically our second team, um, minus like Tomiyasu. I don't think played. I don't think Tierney played. Um, for sure, Fabio Vieira didn't play, but everybody else kind of was in there, um, and we didn't look our best. And we kind of went into half. I think it was 1-1. It was kind of the same situation. But I think this one we stepped up a little bit, and you can see on one hand, these are like our starting 11 is young, and our backups are like even younger, right? Like so it's crazy. Like our B team is just a bunch of like teenagers as well. It was definitely great to see Granit Xhaka out there, kind of being the leader. Rob Holding and Gabriel kind of holding it down the back. I thought our back four was kind of like solidified everything, right? And allowed Marquinhos and Nketiah and Martinelli to kind of take a little bit of time to get used to each other. I thought Matt Turner did pretty decently considering. I don't think he had to work too hard because again, I was really happy with our back four and how they performed. Um, and then yeah, Marquinhos, man, I've been excited about this kid ever since I heard that he was just tearing it up in the academy, right? Like he was getting some minutes in there and just kind of really flourishing. So it was great to see him. He was active. He looked like he definitely knew this was his opportunity to step in and give Bukayo Saka a break, and he definitely jumped at the opportunity, and it was a beautiful combination with Patrick Vieira I keep calling him Patrick, right? Fabio Vieira in the midfield kicked off a real nice pass off to Nketiah. Nketiah dribbled it and then just picture perfect cross on the ground, right? Bounced a little bit, and Marquinhos just came in there and just smashed it, finished it off. It was a beautiful goal, an amazing way for him to, what do they say? Open his account. He opened his account for Arsenal. You saw the emotion. I was excited for him. I think, again, we've only seen him one time, but I think he's put in enough work to earn potentially, a solid starting spot with these cup games with the Europa League. But yeah, I think we kind of saw maybe there's some reasoning behind the fact that we didn't see the club go extra hard for a winger to back up Bukayo Saka because maybe they thought, hey, we might have something special already within the squad, and Marquinhos has showed in his, he only played like 69 minutes and they took him off, but he showed that he has that courage to play. I didn't really see him, I guess, hold anything back. I mean, he was out there, he took his chance, and I mean, he had an assist as well. So Nketiah had a nice goal himself, and who was on the end of that? But Marquinhos, man, so Marquinhos was in there, man. And again, yeah, as you said, we could have had 4, 5, 6 goals. I thought Martinelli, as as influential as he is and as great as he's been, I thought he had one of his weaker games. There was a couple of shots where I thought like all you have to do is just like, I mean, it's easy for me to say as a fan, but I wanted to see him maybe just take a step to just slow down a little bit, and he would have been knocking it. He probably could have had himself a hat trick. But then it's again, I think this is this theme with this young team that we're just not very clinical. Um, but I guess that's a better problem to have versus last year where we couldn't even get shots. Like we were just tossing in crosses into the box and just kind of hoping something happened, or passing it around and just trying to pass it inside the goal. Like now we're getting shots, now we're doing it. Now we just need to be cleaner with it, right? Like our boys have to go and just like take some extra shots after practice or something like that. But it was a good looking performance overall. I mean, I really can't say anybody looked bad. I just didn't think we I mean we won 2-1. I just don't think we have that killer instinct yet. And hopefully that comes because Arteta was not. It was very easy to see that he was not thrilled with our performance yesterday, even though we won. But he looked a little bit annoyed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you could see he was getting annoyed with some of wasted of chances that we had. We were creating chances, but and we were so dominant, had all the ball, but just we weren't able to put them away. Hopefully, as you say, we get more clinical with that. That's one of the things you say this season so far that where we've done really well, but we've been dominating quite a lot of games. You look at the Aston Villa game, for example, we should have been by halftime 3-0 up at least in that one. Uh, so you'd say in some of the games we have lacked being clinical and taking our chances where we could make the games a lot easier for ourselves if we did. But yeah,
Mm,
it's been a great start. Let's talk a little bit about some of the other teams in the Premier League now. So let's start
mm,
with Liverpool, a team that's really struggling. We saw them last weekend in the derby against Everton. That was really a good game. I don't know how it finished 0-0. Both teams created many chances, hitting the post, bar. And I'd say like Liverpool were quite lucky in the end with that one. You know, that they didn't lose it. Everton had some really good chances there. And we've seen them struggle a lot in the Premier League. And then we saw them struggle in the Champions League the other day. I was speaking to you as we were
yeah,
watching it. I was like 4-1 Napoli is like remember when you were speaking to me, it's like it should have been like already by after like 20, 30 minutes, 3-0 to Napoli. They were just getting dominated. And they seem to be really struggling. We know they got some injuries. We know Mane's left, so they're adjusting to that, working with a new system. But they seem really vulnerable at the moment. And for us, that's good to see.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy. And I guess they started to collapse once all their midfielders started getting hurt. Um, yeah, Sadio Mane is not in the squad anymore, and you can kind of see just how influential he was just by watching how much Liverpool is struggling, right? Darwin Nunez hasn't really. I don't think he's. It's way too early, obviously, to say he's been a flop, but he hasn't had the opportunity to get into a rhythm because in the first game or the second game he got that red card, that straight red that kind of knocked him out for 3 games. Yeah, going back to that Everton match, 0-0. I think there was like 37 total shots between the two teams. That was one of the most exciting 0-0 draws I've watched in a long time. Um, and it's really hard to like convince some of my friends or family that aren't into soccer, like hey, like sometimes a nil-nil game is actually really good. And it's weird to say, like, yeah, sometimes when nobody scores, it's one of the most fun moments you'll have. And that's was kind of one of those things, man. You see Everton, you really see how important it is, like for these kind of derbies, right? Like, um, some my friend who's a Liverpool fan sent me a picture, and like those two stadiums are like right next to each other, right? Like a stone's throw away, and um, yeah, again, that was fun to watch. I watched it and disappointed that there wasn't a goal, but yeah, them playing Napoli, man. As you said in the WhatsApp, like there was a point where, yeah, they were down 2-0, but I was like, oh, they should easily be down 4-0. And then 5, 10, 15 minutes later, it's like, yep, they're down 4-0. They were able to get one back, but Liverpool's struggling, man, and I think that's obviously great for us, and I'm really excited to see that happen. And a little bit disappointed. One of the reasons I'm disappointed with all these postponements is like you kind of want to just start seeing these games, get going, and let's start to see the table shake out a little bit and see what teams are going to be able to step up. Um, but yeah, Liverpool is it's seventh place right now, and I'm happy for it because they have not. And you know what? Here's a cool stat. Um, I think the only time they've actually had a lead in any game was that 9-0 victory that they had. So every other game that they've ended up drawing or losing or whatever, they haven't had or I think they won another game. Um, but yeah, they haven't had the lead in the game until like late on. Because I think that the one of their victories, they didn't score until like the 98th minute of like stoppage time. So like they're not looking very good. They got lucky in one win, another one, the team sucks. I don't know, Liverpool. I'm hoping they stay in trouble the whole year, man.
Yeah, let's hope so. Got to talk about Chelsea as well now, Vid. So big news coming out that they sacked their manager.
Yeah.
Quite surprising. Just won the Champions League not long ago, and there was some talk of some unrest behind the scenes, talking of the transfers and stuff. So something's obviously happened behind the scenes because from a footballing point of view, okay, they've had a bad start to the season, they have lost some games, but you'd think it's very early to be sacking the manager. So I think it's something more likely that something's gone on behind the scenes and they've made this decision to get rid of him. But for us, it's nice to see them in this situation. Bad start to the season, changing manager.
Yeah, it's really weird. They allowed them to basically spend all this money, um, all the way through the end of the transfer window. Backed him in the summer. He brought in a bunch of players, and yeah, and then he gets sacked after one pretty bad result. I mean, it was a terrible result. I mean, I watched that match, and yeah, they looked really, really bad. I mean, they did spend a lot of money on that defense, so like I could see where the frustration is, and I've read a few things here and there, but I haven't really like spent a lot of time and sat down and really like tried to like research into like what exactly happened. It has to be something like behind the scenes, because football wise, I mean, they haven't looked great, but they also haven't looked terrible. Um, so we'll see what happens. I'm kind of disappointed that what's his name, Graham Potter, is leaving Brighton to go with them. I kind of liked the guy, and I kind of like what a team like Brighton was doing with the kind of players that they have. Like as much as they're not like a big club, but I mean they're a really well run club, and it's kind of it's fun to watch them play sometimes. So he might bring that kind of magic to Chelsea. Who knows, right? It's I mean he just signed on this week or like yesterday or something. So who knows if he's even like shown up yet. Another funny thing though is Aubameyang, man. Uh, Thomas Tuchel brought him to Chelsea and then played one game, and then boom, he was out. By the way, Alba did not look very convincing in that game that they ended up losing. He started, he played like 59 minutes. He's doing the same shit that he did that got us to kind of give up on him. Like he was just kind of waffling around in the box. Had a couple chances that if you're Gabriel Jesus, or if you're a striker that has confidence, you're gonna just take the shot. And all he did was just like kind of pass it off or something. Like he just doesn't look like he's the same player, man. And I don't know if it's like him getting a big payday and then deciding to mail it in. I don't think that necessarily is the case with him. I just think he's just not. There's something with because he got like malaria twice and COVID twice, and there's something mentally going on there where he's just not looking good. So hopefully that bodes well for us in the long term. Like they bring in a number nine, and if hopefully their number nine can't score goals, that'd be good for us. So yeah, another one. Again, I want to see these games just kind of get going because like there's a lot of teams that are just kind of struggling right now. This delay is going to kind of help some of those teams, I'm afraid. But I mean, we'll see, right? We'll obviously see. But yeah, a little bit disappointing to see the postponements because Chelsea's in the mud, Liverpool's in the mud, and we need them to stay there, especially as how good we're playing.
One team that we've got to say is doing really well. Manchester City with a new striker, Haaland.
Mm-hmm.
Champions League the other day, won that one 4-0. And they've had a good start to the season. They're right behind us in the league. They did drop points in their last Premier League game against Aston Villa. Well done to Aston Villa there. It was a 1-1 draw. But they are looking like clear favourites to win the Premier League, especially now we're seeing Liverpool struggle so much. The last few years, Liverpool have been like one there challenging them and managed to beat them to one of the league titles, as we know, a couple of years back. But it's looking like at the moment, Man City are clear favourites to win the Premier League.
Yeah, I agree, man. Really great team. Holland has. You remember like when they did that? I think it was the Community Shield, and Holland missed a few easy ones, and the banter merchants were already saying like, "Ah, is he ready?" And yeah, he's already put that to bed. He's a great player. City is just an embarrassment of riches again. Yeah, even though we are ahead of them at the table, like I think there's no way we're going to be able to keep up with him. But, again, seeing these other teams not looking very good, I think we have a chance to kind of solidify ourselves as like a top two favorite or, and at least, top four. But yeah, man, City looks good. There's not much I can say that's negative about them. I mean they started a bunch of backups in the in their Champions League game and won 4-0. So it's like not even fair. Excuse me. It's not even fair to like actually. I mean, well, they started Haaland, but like yeah, they had a bunch of rotation going on, and it's just not fair to see how good they are, man. It blows my mind just how good their depth is, and they're the team to chase. I think yeah, they're for sure in the sitting in pole position.
Yeah, it's the level we want to get to. We're getting there. We're still a way away from it, but you can see so is everybody else. They are, I'd say, quite far ahead of every other team in the Premier League right now. There's depth in that squad, the quality
Mhm.
they have, but hopefully one or two more transfer windows and we can close that gap on them.
Mhm.
It's going to be an exciting season. Great start for us. Even though we lost that game against Man United, it's been a very positive start. You look at it, it's 6 games in, 15 points. That's a really good start. We are top of the league.
Still
Obviously,
top of the league.
yeah, so got to be really happy with that. I wanted to ask you, what's the vibe with your supporters group there in Austin about how our start to the season's been and where you can go this season?
Yeah, man. I think the vibe is really good. There is a tendency for like the longer term fans to have this what is it? Like this pessimistic view. Like it's almost they're waiting for the house of cards to tumble, you know? There's this impending doom, like before we even, before the games were postponed, somebody was like, in one of the chat groups I'm in, in the Austin area or whatever, like somebody was like, "Man, I think this is going to be the last week that we're going to be in first place because I think, City's going to just destroy Tottenham." And I was like, "That part I agreed with." But then they were like, "Yeah, we're just gonna. I'm afraid we're gonna draw against Everton." And I had to step in, and I'm like, "What are you even talking about? Like Everton, like their goalie's out, like their goalkeeper's done for the next 3 or 4 weeks. They're in shambles, man. Like they're struggling to just get a point, get a goal. Like they're terrible. I was like, why are we even having that same mentality? Like the team is not having this mentality. Like, yeah, every game we played, even this Manchester United game, like I didn't feel like we lost 3-1. Like, of course, yes, we lost, but again, even after the game, a lot of us, the main reason a lot of us were even upset was because it was Manchester United. Like we knew we weren't going to go undefeated. Of course we're going to say like, hey, we're undefeated, top of the league, this and this. Like we're going to enjoy it while it lasts. But we knew it was going to come to an end. But we just didn't want it to happen to who it happened against, right? So that's like where the annoyance was. But I think overall, like we're just excited. I think we're ready for everything to come through. Like we were ready. There wasn't a ton of people at the pub for the Europa League opener, but that was to be expected. Middle of the week. It's not like Premier League. Especially for the casual fan, like they're not really going to get into like the midweek games. But like there was this sense, like we're sitting there watching it at the tavern, and it was like, man, it feels really good to watch this game and not like be ready to pull your hair out. Like, we saw them tie and we're just like, oh, this just sucks. But we were just like, all right, like let's see the young guys respond and let's see what happens. And sure enough, we pulled off the win, and it was just like a sense of like satisfaction. Like, okay, like we could have played better, but we're getting the win, and that's kind of what our season is starting. Like, again, it's still early, but we played 7 games. I think the theme we're starting to see is this team is good, but it's not where we want it to be. So there's certainly a lot of excitement that's kind of battling against some of that pessimism again, because it's just this negative thing where there's always just this negative stuff that's happened in the past, injuries, um, just losing the games you're supposed to win, like that Everton game. But I'm not trying to be about that, man. I'm like, whatever, bro. Like I didn't. I actually got mad at that person, and I was kind of getting carried away in the comments. I was like, how could you even say that? Like we're playing good. We're gonna batter Everton. Like fuck that team. Like let's not go into these games worried that like the house is already gonna fall down. Like come on, man. Like let's get over that and let's start being a little bit more positive. But at the same time, I think overall, like the fan base around here is following the same thing I'm saying. Like, of course, there's always in the back of your mind like something's going to go wrong, and that's just sports, right? Like, but like I don't like to think like that, and I think a lot of people I'm around are the same way. Like, we're excited to see like this happen, right? We're excited to see these games go down. So, especially after I think seeing Marquinhos step in, Fabio Vieira step in, Tomiyasu coming back looking strong. Like we've got Zinchenko coming in and just kind of like doing his thing, and we rotated in a bunch of players, and so everybody's looking good. Like seeing Zinchenko and Odegaard come in, you would think if those guys were nursing some injuries, there would have been no chance they saw 1 minute of action yesterday, but they saw like 15, 20 minutes. So that just lets me know, hey, they're not really hurt anymore. Like it was all precaution. So like I think we're in a good spot right now. So I just want to kind of keep it going, and we're all a little disappointed again. That's the theme I'm going to be running on, is like wanted some of these games to keep going. So it's a little annoying, but I think the better teams are going to adjust, and we'll see what happens. But that was a long answer, right? Short answer. Um, I think the vibe is good, positive, man, and I want to keep it that way.
Yeah, sure. It's been a good start. It's very early days, as we know, and we're going to have a better idea. I always say after 10, 12 games of it, how for each team the season's going to look. For us, we know that difficult October is coming as well. 3 really difficult games in that month: Tottenham, Liverpool, and Man City. So we'll have a better idea then. But it's going well. We're progressing. We're getting better. We've got a very young team, and we just got to take it game by game. That's we can't look too far ahead. Game by game. Let's hope Thomas Partey's back soon. We know how a key player he is for us as well.
Yep.
And yeah, just hope it's going to be a great season. So no game to talk about for this weekend, but we'll see you next week. Then thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, man. Have a great weekend, and hopefully you can find some time to, or find a way to fill your time, since there's not going to be much Premier League action. Bundesliga, man, that's some good stuff to watch. I'm just gonna put games on so I can have something to watch because I need to get my fix. And yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'll be watching some of the European action. There's still the
Mm.
Formula One on and cricket's on as well, so that'll keep me busy through the weekend. Thanks, bro.
Yeah, we'll chat later, bro.
So that's all from us. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share.